So I'm going to be talking about my previous birth stories. So because I did not have any documented, videos or pictures of my previous pregnancies, I'm going to just give you a rundown of my previous birth story, how it was, as much as I can remember. I'm just going to share with you guys why we start afresh on this journey. I hope that we learn from it and we have a good time together. So let's get it started. So my first pregnancy experience as a first time mom, I had basically no experience or what have you, nothing. As a first time mom, I don't know what it feels like to be pregnant. I've never been pregnant before. I don't know what it, so I was having a lot of pain during the third trimester. And as God will have it. But the contraction kept coming, contraction kept coming, kept coming. I was like, let's go. So that you know, can give it in the house. And in my mind, 1 cm and I'm feeling this kind of pain. That was how I stayed in the hospital on Monday. On Tuesday, ah, I was 4 cm dilated as at I think on Monday evening, and I was like, I can't take this anymore. The pain was something else. I was feeling serious pain. And then they came up with the idea of C-section. Because as at that time, my mom was there. And African moms and CS, they don't even hear CS. I was like, hey, no, my daughter will not give us to CS. I didn't give birth to her with CS, so she won't give me a graduate with CS. No, we should be patient. Baby is going to come out. And da, 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 da. In my mind, people should just pause this thing and let this baby come out because I'm the one feeling the pain. Yeah. At that point in time, I just wanted to go home. Like I was fed up. I didn't want to. I said, if I'm not doing again, how can I be in the hospital for 3 good days trying to birth one child? And it seemed as though there was no progress whatsoever. I kept on praying. I kept on calling on God. It's the only one I had at the time and all of that. God so kind. That Wednesday night, I was already giving up. I was like, I'm not doing again. I just want to go home. I was like, okay, my husband should come back so that they'll discharge me from this hospital. Let me go. If it's for me to even give birth in the house, safe, no problem. When you're in the hospital for that long, you've stayed in the hospital for days, not like you are sick or something. You begin to get tired of the environment because people are coming there to give birth to their babies. In my present, people will come, they are in labor. Before you know, they have given birth to their baby. I can't even count the number of people that came to the hospital to birth their child within that Sunday to Wednesday, and I'm still there trying to dilate. That kind of thing. So I just wanted to go home. I just wanted to leave. I'm like, let me go home and birth this baby. Since this baby doesn't want to come out in the hospital and all of that. So that was how my husband came back and he was like, I should calm down, I should relax. He's not going to pass today. That was Wednesday. They kept on encouraging me and all of that. Because at that time I was tired. So as God will have it, that same Wednesday evening, it just happened that from that 4 cm, I dilated to 6 cm, from there to 8, and that was how I was fully dilated. I had my baby 11:59, I'll be 58. So a few minutes to enter Thursday morning. She came forth to the glory of God. She was birthed naturally, not via C-section. But when my baby came out, she did not cry. That was another issue. They had to do whatever it is they needed to do to make her cry. They spanked baby, they gave oxygen and all of that. She refused to cry. At that point in time, I wasn't complaining. I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't feeling tired and exhausted. At that time, I was just thanking God. I was like, God, I thank you. I was just giving thanks to God. In the midst of all of this, the next thing that happened, she just started crying. And I was like, God, I thank you. And she was better. She cried. They did all the necessary thing. They cleaned her up and all of that and everything. So there was this time that I got a little caught because it was my first pregnancy. Like they said, I needed to have a cut. I don't know how it is, but they said your first pregnancy, you need to have a cut because your body is not as open as it should be. I don't know about that. So I had a little cut and they had to do a suturing on me. Whoever is telling you that that process is easy, that person is lying to you, because suturing is another pain on its own. It's different from the pain you feel when you're contracting. It's different from the pain of delivery. It's a different ball game. At that point, they even injected me to kill the pain that I was going to feel while they are trying to suture me, while they're trying to sew my body. Let me use that word. So okay, for those of you that do not understand what suturing means, that pain on its own is a different ball game. It was so painful that I cannot even explain the pain I felt. I could not just even wait for them to finish sewing whatever it is. I was like, God, I'm not going to give birth again. And is this what my mom passed through? Is this what my mother-in-law passed through? And they had so many children and all of that. The pain at the time will start making you say things that you're not supposed to say naturally and all of that. I couldn't just wait for the suturing to just come to an end, and that was how it happened. God so kind. They did the whole process and everything, and then I was taken from the labor room to the ward where I joined my baby. And so those were my experiences. And sometimes I just feel like how I wish these things were documented, so I could actually go back to it and, be grateful to God for all that God has done for me. Not like I'm not grateful, but memories like these are actually what we call good memories, and they should stay with us. So, but those are my experiences during my first pregnancy journey and delivery. And over to my second child, my second pregnancy story. It was kind of similar to my daughter, but it's not so the same. It happened that I actually contracted faster. This time around, the contraction was really fast. The day I went to the hospital for delivery was that same day I gave birth to my son. you know, I got to the hospital about, like, let's say 6 p.m. in the evening, and I had him like 11 something. I don't know, my kids, they like coming they like coming out 11 whatever, 11 something. I don't know. They just like coming that late. When it's almost like the end of the day before the dawn of a new day. I had him 11 something. I can't remember the exact time, but it was 11 something. So the contraction was really fast. So I was just there. Before you know it, I was 2 cm. Before you know it, I was 4. Before you know it, I was 6. And the next thing is we are out there. So my son came out after the second push. Yeah, I pushed the first time. I think it was the third push that he came out. But he came out and still did not cry. Similar to my daughter. He didn't cry. What actually happened before I was taken into the labor room? There was a lady that was in the labor room birthing her own child. And the hospital where I give birth to my children, they don't attend to two deliveries at the same time, so that all the doctors and the nurses in the hospital can give their full attention to a particular patient and give them the very best that they can give to them. So I was actually waiting for this lady to come out from the labor room before going in. So I actually got to 10 cm. I was fully dilated as at the time I entered the labor room. So it was like I got to 10 cm fully dilated before I was taken into the labor room. I think there was like a little delay before I entered, you know, and that delay kind of caused some complications, but God was able to, take control over the situation. So after the lady came out with her baby from the labor room, the place was clean, sanitized, disinfected, and all of that. And then I was taken into the labor room to give birth. So I got there. The first push, second push, the third push, my son came out. But at this time, he didn't cry. And they tried to make him cry. They spanked him, they beat him, they did all they could. My son still did not cry. This time around, he actually gave me some cuts, and I was still sutured again. Just like the way I was sutured in my daughter's own. But my son's own was worse because he was the one that gave me the tear. Unlike my daughter's own, I was cut. The doctor actually gave me a little cut so that she could come out. But this time around, it was my son that gave me the cut. I think the first in which he came out actually gave me a series of tears. So the doctors had to start patching. Ah, Jesus. Oh my God. Some of these experiences that I did not record or that I did not document is the reason why this time around I must make sure I document these things, because saying it now, I'm kind of relieved and it doesn't really look like what it was as I'm saying it, but it was very, very terrible. They also started suturing different areas of my body and all of that, just to make sure everything is in order, so that I will not have infection or reasons to even come back to the theater again to come and do surgery for one errors or whatever. That is one very good thing I love about this hospital I'm using, because they are very, very professional. They know their job and they know what they are doing. So that was done on me. And while some of the doctors and the midwives were attending to me, some other persons were also attending to my son. after they sutured me, and I think this time around I wasn't really completely feeling it because my mind was on my son. Like, I have betted this baby about 11 thereabout, and this child has not cried up till now. That I was completely, the placenta process was out of me, the suturing was done, clean and everything, and my son has still not cried. I was actually taken out of the labor room. My son was still there while they were trying to attend to him. They took me out of the labor room. I was so worried. I'm like, God, what is happening? I kept on asking the nurse, what's happening? So like, calm down, don't worry, everything is in control. They kept on encouraging me and all that, but I knew that something was up. So I went out of the labor room. I was just in my bed in the ward. I was just praying, like, God, take control. I'm not going to lose my child. Nothing's going to happen to this child after all this pain and everything, and then something negative is going to happen. No, I have bettered this baby. I'm okay and fine. My child will be okay and fine. I kept on praying. I called my pastor's wife, and she kept on praying with me and all of that. So that was it. I left the labor room like around past 12. Then they were completely done with whatever it is they want to do with me. But my son was brought to me to the ward around like 5, 6 a.m. in the morning. Now, this was what happened. Because of that delay, after my complete dilation, I was supposed to start pushing this baby and betting him to life. Because of that delay, he was tired, he was stressed. That was what made him not to cry. And those period while I was waiting for the other lady to come out from the labor room before going in, my baby pooed while he was still inside my tummy, and he swallowed the poo. There's a name they call this thing. I can't really remember the name. If I do, I'm going to drop it in there. I'm going to drop it somewhere here so you see it. It's actually not a good thing. He pulled and swallowed his feces inside the tummy. That's the first poo, and he's not supposed to, poo in the tummy. He's supposed to come out and, excrete that. He's supposed to come out and excrete that feces, but he swallowed it while in my body. So those things cause some complications. That was what happened to him. So while in all those processes, they were trying to, look for vein for my son so that they can inject him. They started looking for vein, they could not see vein. They looked for vein in his hair, they could not see. He came out with so many hair, so they could not really even see any vein. They were checking for vein. They could, before they were able to manage to see one very tiny vein to inject him. It was just God. So they actually gave him a lot of piercing on his hands just to get vein. But as God will have it, they were able to get veins from him. They were able to, remove those excretors that he swallowed and all of those complications. And he was on like for oxygen for like 1 day. Yes, he was on oxygen for 1 day before everything normalized. But God took control at the end of the day. Everything came out well. My son is doing very fine. In fact, he cries very well right now. The baby that refused to cry during birth, he can cry very well now. So those were the experiences I had. And sometimes when I think about this or when I remember this story, I'll just be like, God, you are just too awesome. So these were the experiences I had in my previous pregnancies. And with this one that God has blessed me with, I'm going to be dropping every journey as God will help me every journey during the pregnancy, during the contraction, the labor, the delivery, and everything with you guys. So that you guys can keep me in your prayers and we all will learn a thing or thing from this and we are happy at the end of the day. I think this video is becoming longer than expected. So these were my best stories and I hope you learn a thing or two from it. Share your own best story with me in the comment section. Tag your friends that are pregnant and looking forward to having a baby in this video and let's all learn from it. Thank you for watching. Bye.